We're going to proceed on to the Hall of Fame. But before we do, I wanted to just say we lost another member of the Hall of Fame this past year when Philip Wiscamber passed away. Those of you that know Philip knew how important he was to this organization. He was a dear friend. Say a little silent prayer for Lois and his family, please. Untimely demise. So sorry. We've got 4 inductees into the Hall of Fame. And the first inductee is somebody that everybody knows. And I'm going to try not to speak very much because personally, I can't even begin to condense into the time I'm allocated all the accolades that need to be said about Mike DeGeurin. You know, he passed away August of last year. I knew Mike personally, not extensively, but I worked with him on one case during the years. Fine lawyer. Unfortunately, he passed, but yet today we have Mike's 2 sons, Michael and Mac here, along with many of the family members. I think Dick DeGeurin is here. Yeah. 2 brothers in the Hall of Fame. Only 2 sets of 2 brothers in the Hall of Fame. You know, Mike worked for Wendell Oldham in the Court of Criminal Appeals. He clerked for Judge John Singleton, federal judge. He was a former federal public defender. And, you know, the firm of Foreman, DeGeurin, and DeGeurin, despite the fact that they spell their last names differently, you know, what a force. Obviously, Mike was mentored by Percy along with Dick. Mike's contributions to the practice of law were incredible. He was a man of empathy, a man of courage, a man of grit, and I just want to say 2 more things about him, actually 3. The last trial that Mike DeGeurin tried, he tried with his son Michael and his brother Dick. And again, as consistently he received 2 word verdicts, they got another one.
We had him surrounded.
There you go. And of course, you know, he was instrumental in the exoneration of Clarence Brantley. I could quote what one Houston prosecutor said about Mike. You just knew when he came into the courtroom that you weren't going to be catching any breaks. If you wanted to beat Mike, you had to come completely prepared. That is the truth. He was a man that worked his cases hard. One case that I read, a case that he lost, capital murder case. I read the record, ultimately did a writ on it, but it should have been a not guilty. Mike just kicked him around the courtroom, except for a certain judge that was trying to screw Mike and his client every which way he could. In any event, Michael, come on up and accept this award on behalf of the conference.
Recently had to clean out my dad's office. I found that tape that was, I think, a young Mary Flood from the Chronicle in Percy. And it was right after the Clarence Brantley trial. Percy, it was about 86, 87. Percy had about another year. Both Percy and my dad practiced until the week they died. They did this for them. They did this for their clients, and they did it for real. It was really in them. I wanted to start off saying that nobody, either the Hall of Fame or the Percy Foreman Award, would be here without their staff. Loyal, hardworking staff they're here. I appreciate that. No one can do it without the team, and so we all know that. The induction means more to us that are here than it did to him. You know, if Dad was here, he'd come up here, he'd go, I feel like that old cowboy sitting on Main Street holding a saddle. Don't know if I lost a horse or found a saddle. You know, his superpower was perception. He could read people, he could hear people, and he would listen. They say he had this Columbo style. People, how did he come up with that? It's because he listened. He would listen intently. He would watch the jurors. He would feel the courtroom. He would, you know, his stories were not well, first off, if you ever tried a case with him, he couldn't remember a name to save his life. It would be, and one time we had three wins and a micro win as a prosecutor. It was hardcore. But he would say things like, you know, the bailiff, that's the bailiff that was like one injury away from in an NFL, or that's the judge who's put their kid through UT. That's the kind of memory he had. He didn't have names, but he knew people, and he would listen. And when I would get ready for a trial, that, you know, I was a public defender for a while, and I'm also doing these things, and you get these impossible cases. And he said, you know what? Take it witness by witness. They will always give you something. You just have to listen. And you know, the Percy, I cut out a lot of it because Percy tended to get if anybody, I know I've talked to some people today that have knew Percy. Percy was a screamer or a yeller or a heavy-handed person. So I cut those parts out, so you got to hear the sweet part. But you know, it's really about listening to your client, listening to the jury, listening to the judge, and if you do that and you're prepared and you trust yourself, one day you'll have one of these and be next to your brother. I did note when I walked up here, this is spelled EU. Dick does it UE. This is, officially, this is the right way.
Yeah,
Dick,
my way is the
spells it
correct way.
The correct way. And you know, I thought about when I walked up here, I felt like these shoes were really big, because I've got a lot, you know, hopefully sometime, I've got a couple more years before I can make the qualification for this, but I want it spelled EU. And I appreciate it, thank you.
Our next Hall of Fame inductee